Indeed, as you said, the whole series of announcements by the Indian government, by the Prime Minister, has been a shot in the arm for the industry. The goal of 500 gigawatts by 2030 is one step forward from the 450 gigawatts that we had earlier. I think the Indian renewables industry has shown in the past decade about being able to step up to the plate. CAGR, the 10x growth that the industry has seen, has demonstrated that we can do it, and also do it whilst continuously bringing down the costs. So those two are good things. Now, coming to the 500 gigawatt, what will be the key enablers? Well, I think I'd like to answer this in two forms. In a holistic sense, it's basically doing more of what India has already done to get to over 100 gigawatts, and those have been, continuous reforms, ensuring that availability of grid infrastructure, the grid is built before renewable energy is procured, that allocation of land continues to be a simplified and more simple matter, and the general area of reforms. And one, which is a key one, would be continuous efforts to finally get the distribution entities to be money-making entities, and to that extent take that final reform, difficult act in the reform, which the government has been. And I think with that in place, we are well placed to achieve the 500 gigawatts. Let me take your second question first. I think it will be a very important part. From energy terms, realistically, it would be below 50%. It would not, I don't know how we define core. I would say it will be a very important part, but it would not have replaced today's coal. But we are on a journey. As you know, energy transition is a process, not an event. And I think and I hope we'll be better off. Most of the other countries that have successfully transitioned away from fossil fuel to clean energy have had the benefit of a transition fuel, or a lot of hydro, or in some cases nuclear. We in India do not have any of those in significant quantities for various reasons. I think that is where, although it's not my area to talk about historic responsibility and climate justice and such terms as a simple private business person, but I do think we would be greatly benefited, and therefore the world will be benefited, if the latest in managing grids with ever increasing renewable energy, with battery storage technologies being made available parallelly with the rest of the world, and on terms that the Indian consumer can afford. So to the extent that we've heard about the 100 billion a year for a long period of time, and I hope, we all hope at the end of COP26 it does become a reality. But if there is anywhere in a country like India that some of that funds could be suitably employed, I would say it is in this area, in the area of storage, in the area of grid infrastructure, and the general area of managing grid variability. Climate finance is a very heavy term. The way, in my opinion, that works best, that kind of amount, or any amount that is available, is made available as a support to financing in new areas rather than direct funding. We have seen in the past as well, where the government, or for that matter sometimes multilateral agencies, instead of just providing the direct funding, provide credit guarantee. That credit guarantee of 100 in turn then generates the direct funding of 500. So my view is, and particularly as we look at new areas, let's look at battery storage. Prices are falling, but are still not at the level where they can replace, certainly in the case of India, domestic coal together with renewables. In those areas, if concessional financing could play a key role in making that kind of technology competitive, price competitive. And when we talk financing, then financing in areas where it provides credit guarantee, where it takes away the risks, some of the systemic risks that lenders face, that I think will be a far better use of that trillion than direct funding of. I think if the government could provide just that, or multilateral agencies, then the private sector, quite frankly, there is no dearth of money to invest in the sector. There are sets of, if you like, asks or requests, if I may put it that way, from COP26 as a whole. As Indian industry, our request would be, or our ask would be, for the developed world to do their bit in helping the whole world to transition. And what do I mean by that? I mean, as I've already said, the 100 billion a year financing being made available, more focus on adaptation, and importantly, you know, India has announced now a net zero target for 2070, which is fantastic news. I believe it can come forward, but in order for that to come forward, we would also urge as Indian industry, the developed world, to start talking about net negative by 2050. I think there is a chance for this sort of announcements and these kind of events, which has been very successful, and I must commend our hosts, the government of the UK, for this. But these kind of events and these kind of announcements have the prospect of sort of starting a virtuous cycle, where some time back it was China which announced 2060 in the UN. Now India has announced, and if we can move the more developed world to either take 2050 back to 2040 or from net zero to net negative, then I think that'll be so much the better. I think on technology transfer and financing, I've already made the point. It was always meant to be, but happily for the planet, and I know our various country delegations which do the actual negotiations would be at it, but it has been a most meaningful COP, and in time hopefully we'll look back at this as one of those seminal moments where the world took a decisive step away from climate disaster. And long may that continue, and I hope and I wish the rest of this conference all success. Thank you.